The ballroom sparkled like a dream, crystal chandeliers dripping light, white roses cascading from golden arches, a string quartet playing softly in the corner. But the elegance couldn't silence the whispers. Emaa stood in the center of it, all wrapped in silk and lace, her fingers intertwined with her new husband's. Yet even as she smiled for photographs, the murmurs followed her like shadows. She married a construction worker. What a shame. She could have had someone successful. How long until she realizes what a mistake she made? Her aunt, who had once proudly introduced Emaa to every eligible man with a business card, leaned in with a pitiful smile. She pressed a card into Emma's hand. It was a divorce attorney. "Just in case, darling," she said. "You don't want to feel trapped when reality hits." Emaa didn't argue. She didn't roll her eyes. She simply closed her fingers around the card, nodded politely, and turned toward Daniel. Her husband stood near the dessert table, cutting a slice of cake for a child whose plate was empty. His suit was modest, not designer. His shoes were clean but worn. He had a slight tan from working outdoors, a scar near his temple from some forgotten accident, and eyes soft, brown, steady. The kind of eyes that didn't look through people. But into them, they didn't know him, not like she did. To them, he was just a poor man who somehow won the heart of a woman who could have had anyone. But Emaa knew that what he had built went far beyond dollars or titles. And soon, so would they. 8 months earlier, Emaa was waitressing at a rundown diner on the edge of town. Her days were long, her feet always sore, her smile practiced. She worked the early shift, and sometimes the night shift too, depending on when rent was due or if her dad needed help with prescriptions. The tips weren't great, but they were better than nothing. That's when Daniel started showing up. Always in work boots, always dusty, always quiet. He sat at the same booth each visit, ordered the same thing: black coffee, grilled cheese, no onions, and always left a generous tip. At first, she thought he was just being kind. Then she thought maybe he felt sorry for her. Then one day she realized he simply saw her, really saw her. He didn't flirt, he didn't boast. He asked about her day, listened when she talked about her father's health, or the book she was reading, or the way her dreams had slowly faded into obligations. One night, during a thunderstorm that kept customers away, he stayed until closing. She brought over a slice of pie and sat across from him. They talked for hours. She found herself telling him things she hadn't said aloud in years about her mother's death, about giving up her scholarship, about how small her life had become and how afraid she was to dream again. He shared his story too. Grew up in foster care, bounced around between homes, learned to work with his hands early, framed his first house at 16, said he didn't have much, but he liked making things that lasted. He never once mentioned Earthcore Industries, never said a word about owning one of the most rapidly growing eco-development companies in the country. He just let her see the parts of him that mattered. Their relationship grew slowly. She met him for coffee, then they went hiking. He helped her fix a leaky sink. She helped him find a new coat when his old one tore. She didn't care that his truck was old. She didn't care that his hands were rough. She cared that he showed up, that he remembered little things, that he looked at her like she was a treasure, not a burden. When he proposed, it wasn't in a fancy restaurant or under fireworks. It was in the backyard of her childhood home, beside the rosebush her mother once planted. He held out a ring with hands that had built homes, not spreadsheets, and said, "I don't have much, but I have enough, and I have you. Will that be okay?" She cried and said yes. The wedding was small but beautiful. Friends, family, a few old co-workers. Her relatives attended, but mostly out of obligation. They whispered about his boots, his simple suit, the way he parked his old truck beside luxury cars. They said she was settling. They said she would regret it. She didn't listen, because she knew something they didn't. A week later, Emaa received a formal invitation to a black tie gala. It came in a thick envelope with gold foil lettering, addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Daniel Carter. She assumed it was a mistake, or maybe a +1 for a charity dinner Daniel's boss invited him to. She didn't ask questions, she just went. The gala was enormous, held in a marble hall with sweeping staircases and a chandelier that looked like a falling star. The guest list was filled with celebrities, business leaders, mayors, and CEOs. Emaa felt out of place in her simple dress, but Daniel didn't seem bothered at all. They mingled for a while, and then the lights dimmed, the music faded, a spotlight hit the stage. A voice echoed across the hall. "Please welcome tonight's honoree, a man whose work has redefined eco-construction and brought sustainable housing to over 40,000 families nationwide. The founder and CEO of Earthcore Industries, Mr. Daniel Carter." The room erupted in applause. Emaa froze. Daniel stood, kissed her cheek, and walked to the stage. He smiled into the microphone. When I was 16, I framed my first house. By 25, I was running my own crew. By 30, I started building homes in places the world forgot. But this story isn't about business. It's about belief. My wife Emaa believed in me before anyone else did, before the magazine covers, before the contracts, before the billions. She saw a man with dirt under his nails and a dream in his heart. She didn't just love me, she reminded me why I started. The applause came again, louder. Emma's ears rang, her heart thundered. Relatives who once mocked her rushed to compliment her. The same aunt who gave her a divorce lawyer's card asked if Daniel was hiring. Cousins who once called him a charity case now begged for investment opportunities. Emaa smiled politely, but she wasn't interested in proving anything to them. Daniel didn't take revenge through wealth or words. He took it with kindness. He returned to Emma's hometown and quietly began changing it. The crumbling school where she once studied, he rebuilt it, added modern classrooms, a playground, and a mural of her mother in the library. The grocery store that had closed 2 years earlier, he reopened it as a coop that provided food and essentials at little to no cost for struggling families. He renovated abandoned houses and donated them to single mothers and veterans. He bought the diner where they met and turned it into a culinary training program for people who needed second chances, former addicts, former inmates, teens aging out of foster care, and he didn't put his name on any of it. He named the scholarship fund after Emma's mother, sent dozens of girls to college with full tuition and housing, hired local workers, paid them fairly, gave benefits, built playgrounds, built parks, built hope. People noticed that the same cousin who laughed at their wedding came to ask for a job. He had lost his position at a tech firm and needed a break. Emaa didn't hold a grudge. She welcomed him with the same grace Daniel had shown her. No lectures, just opportunity. Months passed, seasons changed, and what once was a broken town began to bloom again. Then, one warm summer night, they hosted a backyard cookout. Nothing fancy, just string lights and folding chairs, kids running barefoot through the grass, laughter, and the smell of barbecue in the air. Neighbors came, teachers, former employees, new friends, and yes, some relatives who finally saw the truth. Emaa stood under the stars with a glass of lemonade in her hand, looking out at the people gathered around picnic tables and fire pits. She raised her glass. "They thought I married a poor man," she said softly. "They didn't see the heart that would heal a town, the mind that would build a future, the kindness that would change lives. They saw dust on his boots. I saw gold in his soul." The crowd fell quiet, then erupted in applause. Daniel took her hand, kissed her fingers. "I didn't build all this for revenge," he whispered. "I built it because you believed in me, because you reminded me that the best kind of wealth isn't measured in money." She smiled. They didn't need anyone's approval who had something better, each other, a community, a purpose. And in the end, no one remembered the whispers at the wedding, they only remembered the love that changed everything. The truth that silenced judgment, and the quiet power of building something real with compassion, courage, and grace. Because the best revenge isn't loud, it's lasting. And the people who once laughed, now they tell a different story. Not that she married down, but that she married a man the world didn't deserve and helped him make it better.